Hi, third graders. It's Mrs. Colbert. I'm going to read you a book called Small Beauties, The Journey of Darcy Hart O'Hara. First, I'm going to show you the map that is on the inside page. And Darcy Hart O'Hara and her family are from Ireland, which is up here in green, and they travel to the United States, to Ellis Island. So you can see their journey across the Atlantic Ocean. And I just wanted to point out that Rivka is in Antwerp, and Antwerp, Belgium is right next to France. So when Rivka journeys from Antwerp, she leaves from up here, which is just right next to France. Okay. Small Beauties. On the night Darcy O'Hara was born, her father danced a jig in the firelight of their small cottage. It was what fathers did long ago in Ireland, in the cottages of Derry Lane, in the townland of Pobble O'Keefe. The babe has a gift, 'tis plain to see, Granny O'Hara whispered, her blue eyes twinkling. Granny herself had second sight, which let her peek into the future. The 6 O'Hara boys gathered round their new sister. One day this child shall hold the very heart of our family in the palm of her hand, Granny predicted. So they named the infant Darcy Hart O'Hara. Now children were as plentiful in Pobble O'Keefe as the chickens that roosted in the thatched roofs up and down Derry Lane. But Darcy was different. She was a noticer. She stopped to notice small beauties wherever she went. Darcy Hart O'Hara, how many times must you be told to milk the cow? Granny would call from the half door. Whatever are you doing while our Kathleen is waitin' so patient? 'Tis a grand sight I see, Granny, Darcy would answer, pointing to a dew-covered spiderweb across her bucket's rim. It won't be a grand sight you'll be seein' if your father hasn't milk for his tea, Granny snapped. Darcy Hart O'Hara, her mother would call up to the roof. I sent you up to gather eggs ages ago. What keeps you, girl? I'm on my way, ma'am, Darcy was quick to call down. I just stopped to watch the cloud castles, she said, pointing to the sky. Clouds, is it? Her mother would fume. I can't be using clouds to barter with the market. Gather up those eggs and hurry down. Now the O'Haras, like many of their neighbors, knew more about courage than coin. For in Pobble O'Keefe, in the year 1845, money was as rare as a whortleberry in December. Darcy's dress had neither collar nor pocket, but as poor as she was, Darcy often felt rich with the many beauties she noticed, and when she could, she liked to carry the smallest ones home in the hem of her skirt. She'd carefully pull a few stitches loose and tuck in a flower, a pebble, or a found butterfly's wing. In the evenings, with kittens curled in laps, dogs flopped over feet, and piglets poking about, the O'Haras would gather at the hearth. There they listened to stories, the kind only Granddad could spin. With a low, hushy whisper, he'd begin. Long ago, on our fair Isle of Arran. In the glow of the peat fire, Darcy noticed how Granddad's voice would rise and fall as he told of brave heroes on white steeds and moonlit glens, filled with little folk and fairy queens. The children would gasp and gape, and the piglets would grunt in all the right places. All together at the hearth, they were happy, and Darcy noticed. But such happiness was not to last, for the summer brought nothing but soft weather, as Granny called the rain. And when the sun finally did come out, Darcy walked with her father over the soggy fields to inspect their crop of potatoes. The lush green leaves had curled and turned black. The potatoes had all gone rotten. It was the same in every field, in every county, all over Ireland. "How shall we pay the rent?" Darcy's mother cried. "And what shall we feed the children?" "We'll do the only thing we can," Darcy's father answered. "We'll plant more potatoes and pray our luck changes. Everyone shall help with the planting." "Darcy Hart O'Hara, what in heaven's name are you doing dawdling in that empty row?" her brother Sean scolded. "I was just noticing a magpie flying low over the buttercups," Darcy told him as she pointed to the edge of the field. "See how his black feathers shine next to their shimmering gold?" "Gold, is it?" her brother cried. "Why can't you ever see what the rest of us see? If you did, you'd notice that there's no gold here, just a bunch of useless blossoms. Stop gaping over buttercups now and get back to your planting." But the next crop of potatoes turned as rotten as the first, for a blight had taken hold of the land. Now the hard times were certainly upon them. Each day, Darcy joined the other children of Pobble O'Keefe, who were sent out looking for food. They combed the fields for berries and nettles and whatever else they could find. Darcy tried hard to take her brother's advice, to see what the others saw. She saw the worried look on her mother's face, and she noticed the hungry tug in the pit of her own stomach each day. She saw the rubble where the Murphys' cottage had once stood. She noticed the smell of rotten potatoes in the air, and she heard the quiet all up and down Dairy Lane as fiddles lay forgotten and stories were left untold. But even with all this, Darcy continued to notice small beauties wherever she went. When the Crown's agent came demanding the rent, Mr. O'Hara explained they couldn't pay it. The agent grabbed hold of their cow, Kathleen, and all of their pigs as well. Darcy felt a lump in her throat to hear her father plead, "If you take our animals, my children will starve." "What's owed is owed," the agent said gruffly. "The Crown's decided to clear the land. If you can't pay your rent, you're to be evicted. There's been a decree that all tenants of Pobble O'Keefe shall receive free passage to America if they leave within the month. If you haven't left by then, we'll come tear your house down." "America!" Mrs. O'Hara cried. "Cross the ocean?" Granny gasped. "Leave Ireland?" Darcy whispered. "Never," declared Granddad. "We'll not leave the land our people are buried in. You'll not be rid of us so easy." "There's hope from the ocean, but none from the grave," the agent said darkly.